this is Felissa Rose. I'm Angela from Sleepaway Camp, and you're listening to Rock Video Rental.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Rock Video Rental. I am Brandon. With me, as always, is Caleb, and we are continuing on with Rocktober. And today we're going to be talking about The Monster Squad. It is from 1987. It is directed by Fred Dekker. The plot: a group of 12-year-olds form a Universal Monsters fan club called the Monster Squad and have to attempt to save their hometown from Count Dracula and his monsters when they show up for real. Of the cast, we got Andre Gower as Sean, Robbie Kiger as Patrick, Stephen Mocht as Sean's dad, Duncan Rieger as Dracula, Tom Noonan as Frankenstein's monster, Brett Chalum, I think it's how you say it, Chalum as Horace, Ashley Bank as Phoebe, Ryan Lambert as Rudy, and Michael Faustino as Eugene. Michael Faustino is actually the real life brother of Bud from Married to Children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, little known thing there. David Faustino was Bud from Married to Children. This is a movie I've seen a handful of times. I didn't even know this movie existed until probably like 10 years ago.
Okay.
And that was because when I used to work at a print shop, uh, the guys that did the screen printing used to watch movies all day, like while
hmm
they printed. And I remember around Halloween time, they watched The Monster Squad. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And then, they told me what it was. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of like the Goonies, except with like all the old school monsters in it. And it's really like the best way to describe this movie. Kind of like an underrated, it's definitely a cult movie, an underrated like 80s movie that a lot of people don't really talk about too much.
hmm Yeah,
And
I had never seen it before, so I mean, I knew of it, but I had just never really watched it. So,
yeah, and it's got a lot of the feelings of like, some of the Steven Spielberg movies of that time, like the Goonies, where the kids are written to be, smarter than just your average dumb kid. It's even got um things reminiscent of like E.T. in it.
hmm
And I think of like, Phoebe being really similar to Drew Barrymore's character in E.T. Just kind of like talks more grown up than she is, I guess. It has more of a personality than like a young kid, you'd think,
yeah,
but also kind of innocent at the same time. But this is our second movie that was done by Fred Dekker and Shane Black, I realized, because they did Night of the Creeps as well.
okay.
But you can see some similarities with that and like the comedic style and everything. But the things that I thought this movie really had going for it is the chemistry between the kids.
hmm
Like I felt that was really good. I felt like they seemed like genuine friends and like a group of kids that would be friends together. Um, some of the music and stuff. There's a song during the montage, that "Rock Until You Drop," which is made by Michael Sambello, who's the dude that made Maniac from Flashdance.
Okay.
Uh, that's a that's a fun montage song, and I feel like it's kind of overlooked when they talk about when people talk about Michael Sambello, because he's kind of just known as a one-hit wonder for Maniac,
hmm
but and like a session musician. But I don't know, I like that song. I listened to it a decent amount of times. And I mean, montages are always great. That was one of the best things from the 80s. Uh,
I feel like this movie kind of did the movie feel rushed to you?
a little bit. Yeah, I was gonna say, because I started watching it the other night and I got tired and had to turn it off. And then I finished it yesterday morning, and I was like, man, I forgot how like quick of a pace this movie moves at.
I mean, was it's under an hour and a half, an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, I
So
believe so. Yeah, it's an hour and 22 minutes.
yeah, so
Like
they
it
had
gets
a
straight to the point.
yeah, they had a lot of ground cover. I think the unfortunate thing, so I think that comparison between and the Goonies is really good. I mean, I think it's fair to say that Goonies is the far superior movie
Oh yeah.
for many reasons, but it has a lot of the same elements. The thing I think it kind of moved too fast from and it could have been fixed in two ways. Either they could have made the movie a little bit longer um to just kind of help it not feel so rushed, or part of the reason why I feel like it was rushing so much is because they had so many different monsters. Obviously that made sense because it's called Monster Squad,
Yeah.
but they had to give like each monster their screen time.
Hmm.
And so it kind of drew things out a little bit and was just kind of like, all right, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta do this. And so that was kind of a little bit messy with that there. Um it's definitely one of those movies where the side of me that's very much they didn't really think about how you put this movie together kind of a thing
Yeah.
gets a little bit to me because so the whole thing starting out where they're like, oh yeah, back way back when Van Helsing was trying to kill Dracula and rid the world of monsters and whatever, they failed. They did that whole little story thing there, but then all of a sudden we flash forward to present day, which would have been 1987, and randomly, no context, there's a plane transporting crates that they believe have dead bodies in them,
Hmm.
and then a guy goes back to check him out, and Dracula winds up being there, like,
Yeah.
ta-da, there he is. And he shoves the guy around, and then the guy pulls the, I don't know,
Cargo release or
yeah,
whatever.
cargo release, and then the crates drop, and they drop exactly where they needed to. Like they were just so happened to be flying over the
Yep.
town where Dracula
I
had.
yeah, I think I have something in trivia and facts kind of about this. Um, I believe the movie was supposed to be longer, but producers or someone like that made Decker cut it down to be under an hour and a half. And this doesn't happen very often, but I feel like this is one of the few cases that we would say that a movie needed to be almost 2 hours long, just
uh,
with how much they're trying to cover.
yeah, well, at least over an hour and a half, like maybe closer to an hour 45. But
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if adding time would have really helped with this particular part, but like all the, I don't know, I guess you would say coincidences
yeah,
that happened, like they were in the plane randomly, they dropped the stuff exactly where they needed to in like the swamp near Dracula's place, like somewhere in the same town at least. And then
yeah.
also Van Helsing's book, ironically, is in the same town, and ironically they have an old German neighbor. Like all these things that just line up where it's just like, oh, this worked out and this worked out. And I get it, it's more of a kids movie,
Hmm.
but at the same time I'm kind of like, you gotta think some of it through, kind of, and all that. So
Right.
yeah.
Now I get it. Um, yeah, that was one of the things I had that I thought maybe wasn't the best, is that it feels really rushed, feels kind of short, and then everything's just like a huge coincidence.
Hmm.
Other things I had was just things you're looking at it with 2024 eyes. How many times they mentioned like homos and faggot and all that kind of stuff
Yeah, oh
hasn't
my
aged as
word,
well.
they started off so strong with that, and I was just like, holy smokes, this is a kids movie.
Yeah, right. And then like all the body shaming of Horace, called him
Hmm.
like the fat kid. I'm like, he's really not even fat.
And then also, if you really want to take it a step further, like um like I don't know at what level if it's still like kind of okay to address it, but like the peeping Tom stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the virgin talk
Hmm.
too. And like Patrick's sister like was originally to read the passage or whatever, but then I found out she wasn't actually a virgin. She's like, well, there was this one guy, but he doesn't count.
Yeah.
I mean, which was funny, but it's like at the same time, like there's a lot of virgin talk in this for a kids movie.
Yeah.
But that was the 80s.
At a certain point in time, at a certain age, I would have been like, I don't even know what they're talking about.
Right, exactly. So we mentioned there's quite a few monsters in this. We got Dracula's like the main bad guy, and then there's Frankenstein, who the Frankenstein's
Frankenstein's
monster,
monster. There you
yeah,
go.
who becomes like an ally of the kids. He becomes like friends with the kids. There's a dude, it's a werewolf. There's the mummy. There's like the creature from the Black Lagoon, and then there's like the brides of Dracula.
Yeah. You know, you know who the werewolf is, right?
No,
Uncle Rico.
was it really?
Yeah, it
That's the
was.
second time he showed up, dude, in their marathon.
I
Well, no, he
know.
was no, he wasn't in the marathon. He was in a previous month when we did
Oh,
TerraVision.
oh yeah, yeah. There you go. Yep.
Oh man, you're good at picking out that guy as an actor.
I know. I saw him and I was just like, no way, that's not him. But I was looking through IMDb and I was like, oh well, there you go. I guess so.
He was pretty good, I guess,
Yeah.
as the werewolf dude going nuts. Speaking of werewolf and nuts, there's a scene. So they go like this haunted house, and all the monsters start showing up, and they get cornered, and like the werewolf comes out of nowhere and jumps in front of Horace, and Sean is like on the other side of him, and Horace is like, ah, what do I do? And he's like, kick him in the nards, and he's like, he's a werewolf, he doesn't have nards. He's like, just kick him in the nards, and he runs up and kicks him in the crotch, and the werewolf like doubles over and grabs his crotch and goes, oh, and he's like, werewolf's got nards, or Wolfman's got nards, which is
Yeah.
probably like the most famous line from this movie. But that
Uh,
just cracks me up.
sorry, I'm gonna have to cut you off real quick. One of the
Yeah.
kids just opened their doors. I gotta make sure they're just going to the bathroom and they're not sleepwalking.
Okay.
All right, just one second. Okay, we're good.
Rock.
Okay. So just got done with the whole Nards quote.
Yeah, Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah.
Then they end up getting away from the monsters and everything. Um, and then soon after that, they're chased by the mummy, and that part's kind of cool. Like, mummy grabs the back of the truck and starts trying to climb in, and Rudy grabs the bandage and attaches it to like an arrow and shoots it into a tree. One in a million shot there. Um, and it like unravels the mummy, and he turns like to dust.
Mm.
And it cracks me up because Rudy calls him Band-Aid breath.
Yeah.
This
Great,
is kind
great
of funny.
line.
And I mean, Rudy's supposed to be like the badass character. He's like the kid is a little bit older than the rest of them, and he's just like the tough kid.
Yeah.
We get introduced to him too when um Jason Hervey, who's Wayne from the Wonder Years,
Hmm.
starts picking on Horace and calling him fat kid, and he starts like punching him and stuff. And Rudy shows up, and everybody's just like afraid of him. Like he shows up on his bike and he's smoking, and he's got a leather jacket on, like he's the kid from the Crossfire commercial. Yeah. And everybody's afraid of him, of course, but yeah, he's like the supposed to be like the cool character, and they get him to join their monster squad group.
Mm.
But,
Oh, I
um,
forgot to mention real quick, actually, though, too, while we were talking about
hmm?
obscure people in the movie,
Yeah,
Uncle Rico. Um, his mom, you recognize his mom, right?
yeah, I got that in trivia and facts, but we could say it now.
Oh, okay. I mean, we can save it for then, but uh, some of you might know the mom character. We'll
Yeah,
reveal
Mary
later.
Ellen Trainer.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, she plays Sean's mom.
so,
She was also in the Lethal Weapon movies as a
yep.
psychiatrist. Yeah.
And then she was in Die Hard.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I just noticed that that's on her thing, and it says in Goonies.
Yeah, she was a mom and one of the kids in Goonies as well.
Okay.
I don't remember which one, but I remember seeing her and I'm like, oh, she's familiar. And then I looked it up and it's like, oh yeah, she was in the Goonies. Very 80s mom looking. And his dad is a police officer, and it's like, oh, their marriage is strained. There's a part where, Dracula's fighting with the kids and Sean asks for help from his dad, and his dad like runs back home to like check on uh the mom and everything. And it's really subtle. You can see like the mom had bags packed by the door,
Oh, really?
like that she was gonna leave the dad. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, because well, she kept saying because she wanted to like do a date night, and he's like just married to his job basically.
Hmm.
Like I didn't notice that until this time watching it that like she had bags packed by the door.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, you just took out Dracula, so now you got to stay with him or help take out Dracula, I guess. Um, which the whole ending scene thing is pretty um crazy, because the kids, with Frankenstein helping them start trying to fight off Dracula, and then like the old German guys reading off the book, and then the little girl's repeating it because she's a virgin, and it's like it's weird to think about a 5-year-old as a virgin.
Yeah.
It's kind of uncomfortable. And she's got this amulet and opens up that portal and sucks the monsters back in. But we get some other great scenes in it and some great quotes where Horace, aka Fat Kid, is like getting chased by the creature from the Black Lagoon, and he grabs a shotgun and like blows him away.
Yeah.
And Jason Hervey from the Wonder Years says, he's like, wow, he's a great shot, Fat Kid. And he like turns around and looks at him. He's like, my name. And he goes, and racks the gun and says, is Horace.
Yeah, like I laughed at that too because it was a total flip.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. That cracked me up. And it made me laugh too because, I mean, Rudy is like the badass of the group. We've talked about him with his, leather jacket and smoking and everything,
Mm.
and kind of like playing a cool older kid when the brides of Dracula start showing up, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And then Rudy starts like walking towards them. They're like, "Rudy, where are you going?" He's like, "I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?" Like that just kind of cracked me up. And then he's like shooting stakes at him and trying to kill him and everything.
Yeah,
But
that was a little bit on the I wouldn't really say gory side, but it was a little bit where I was just like, that's a little bit much for a movie geared towards kids.
yeah, I guess that's one of my main gripes with this movie is the tone.
Hmm.
Like, there's many things that's like very kid related, it's kind of it's very similar to the Goonies at time. This
Yeah.
is like this group of kids together, they're in a club and they're trying to fight these monsters and stuff. But then at the same time, like there's a fair amount of swearing. There's like some uncomfortable things about uh virginity.
Yeah.
Like they talk to the one boy's sister and find out she's not actually a virgin, so like when she says the German stuff, it doesn't do anything.
Hmm.
Um and then some of the gore situations are a little intense. And then Dracula calls a 5-year-old girl a bitch.
Yeah.
And then Rudy says, I'm in the goddamn club. But yeah, there's some kind of more adult themed things in it, I guess. I'm like, I can't, like, is this movie maybe geared towards 10 to 12-year-olds around there? Like kids, but not like teenagers, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like it started off a lot with the younger kid um target market, but then it kind of quickly went all over the place. So it does
Yeah.
seem like they didn't really do a good job of picking a lane.
Yeah, because I was trying to think of what are quote unquote like horror adjacent movies that kids could watch. And I'm like, I don't think this one you had to be like a little older kid. It's like, but kids could watch something like Ernest Scared Stupid and, Hocus Pocus and Gremlins and stuff like that. But yeah, this, I don't know if I would show my 6-year-old this movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe when she's a little bit older, but yeah, I felt like the tone was a little bit off for this. Like they weren't really certain who their target demo was. But some other cool scenes. Um, they like answer the question of what happens if you just blow up a werewolf
Yeah.
because Sean's dad shows up and they put like the dynamite like down his pants, the werewolf's pants, and he blows up in a bunch of pieces and like all the pieces just kind of like suck back together and he forms back into the werewolf.
Hmm.
That was really cool. Uh, and then he has to be killed by a silver bullet. And I like that because earlier in the movie, they're like, "How do you kill a werewolf?" And Rudy's like, "You shoot him with a silver bullet." And they're like, "Isn't there another way?" And he's like, "No, that's the only way. It's the only way you kill a werewolf." And then after he gets shot with a silver bullet, Rudy's like, "See, I told you the only way was with a silver bullet." Oh, yeah, that's. I guess we get like a somewhat sad part when Frankenstein's reaching for the little girl and he gets sucked in the portal with the other monsters.
Hmm.
And then like all of a sudden the army shows up at the end.
Oh my gosh, that was so
Corny.
so corny. Yeah, like that totally took the whole thing to like I feel like the most kid-friendly moments were like the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, because again at the end the army shows up and they're like, um, who is who's the little boy? It was David Faustino's brother. Which one of you is Eugene? And
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, you got my note." And like, what's going on here? Blah blah blah. Like we took care of it. And Sean just hands him like a business card or something. He's like, "We're the Monster Squad."
Yeah. It's
I
like
already
what the
said it.
Oh, it was so dumb. But then also like, dude, okay. So this movie took place over what, like 3, maybe 4 days or something like that?
Yeah.
And so Eugene sent a letter in the mail, what, like the second, maybe third day.
Yeah.
So telling people that basically the army got it within a day, read it, and were like, we have to take this seriously, and
They know too much.
we're gonna show up. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah, like the armies gets this letter written in crayon on construction paper from some little boys saying there's monsters. And they're like, oh man, we gotta take this seriously.
I know. It's just, oh my gosh.
That's what happened to Dracula after he fell out of that plane. Oh
Uh,
man, that's so funny. Oh, and I think that's pretty much all I've got. Um, you got anything? You want me to get into trivia and facts?
I don't really have much else. I'll have some final thoughts. So let's
Right.
do trivia and facts.
So according to the director, Fred Decker, Shane Black's first draft of the screenplay was so huge that the opening of the film featured Van Helsing accompanied by zeppelins and hundreds of men on horseback storming Dracula's castle. Decker stated that the sequence would have cost more than the final budget of the movie.
Oh my gosh.
So the scene where Dracula lifts Phoebe up and she screams was done in one take. Um, the actor playing Dracula uh, wouldn't wear his red contacts or fangs around a 5-year-old because it scared her too much.
Oh man.
Yeah, for the scene, Fred Decker just told the little girl to scream once the platform raised her. When she asked when, Decker told her, "Oh, you'll know," and then proceeded to shoot. The terrified scream you hear when Dracula opens his eyes, like it was a genuine scream of hers.
Hmm.
So near the start of the movie, the plane where Dracula first appears has Browning written on the side of it. This was a nod to the director Todd Browning, who directed Dracula in 1931.
Oh, I thought it was like a dumb knockoff of UPS Brown.
Oh,
Didn't they have the thing, what can Brown do for you or
yeah,
something like that?
yeah. Uh, so the Wolfman's face was modeled after that of Stan Winston,
Oh.
who did a lot of creature effects in the 80s. Um, Liam Neeson was paid for a bit part that was never shot.
Hmm.
According to the director Fred Decker, the film was cut by 13 minutes because some executives did not want to run more than 30 minutes. And we talked earlier how this movie could have benefited from about 15 minutes more of footage.
Right.
So I'm interested to see what those 13 minutes would have been.
Yeah.
So actor Brent Shalom, who played Horace, tragically died of pneumonia in 1997.
Hmm.
Due to licensing issues, the crew had to create characters that were suggestive but not exact copies of Universal's iconic monsters. Uh, and quote, the challenge was to suggest those classic creatures without really copying them, said Shane Mahan, because we didn't have the permission or the license to use those specific images. So we could do a Gill Man, for example, but it couldn't look too much like the creature from the Black Lagoon. It was frustrating for us at first because, of course, we wanted to do the original designs, but we couldn't. We could only suggest those designs. So Frankenstein monster looks a bit like the Karloff creature, but instead of bolts on his neck, he has bolts on the forehead. There was a certain percentage of changes we had to make to get away from any legal copyright infringement.
Dude, are you kidding me? Those were so close. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, you draw a mouse and then Disney tries to sue you up the butt. And
Well,
then
Disney's
they,
kind of butthole, so
yeah, but then they do that, whereas like you know exactly what they're going for.
oh yeah, for sure.
What the,
I don't know.
I'm-
Maybe it's because some of those creatures existed before Universal made the movies.
I
Like, because
guess.
vampires have been around forever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
But the most insane thing to me is that they called them by the name.
right. Well, I
Um,
mean, Dracula was created by Mary Shelley, so maybe they had to pay her estate some money. Or
yeah, I
no,
don't know.
no, Mary Shelley made Frankenstein.
Yeah. Oh,
Bram
yeah.
Stoker made Dracula. Yeah. So they probably had to pay them something, I would assume. But yeah.
Interesting. Well, interesting. I have no idea how that works, so who knows?
So Andre Gower and Robbie Kiger were friends in real life before filming. Gower campaigned to the producers to hire Kiger as his best friend role of Patrick.
Hmm.
There were at least two versions of Michael Sembello's end credit song. Some versions dating back to the VHS release, there's a lyric referring to the gill man swimming in a pool. As of 2007, the recent HD cable release, this is simply replaced by the creature from the Black Lagoon, which is that rap song at the end, which is really corny. So Seth Green screen tested for the role and even read with Andre Gower, um, who was cast as Sean. The two became good friends.
Hmm.
So yeah, that'd have been interesting. Um, it has the same dead guys do not get up and walk away by themselves line, followed by a shot of a dead guy walking down the street as the movie Night of the Creeps, which is also written by Fred Decker.
Okay.
That was a quote that I had that I thought was pretty funny. What 2,000-year-old mummy does not get up and walk around by itself, and then they show it walking.
Mhm.
So Dustin Diamond, better known as Screech from Saved by the Bell, had a small role as a kid who tries to trade baseball cards with the boys. This is later cut.
Oh, too bad.
Yep. Mary Ellen Trainor, who plays the mother of the lead siblings, also plays the mother of the lead sibling children in The Goonies. She also starred as the LAPD psychiatrist, Dr. Stephanie Woods, in the Lethal Weapon movies,
Yeah, I saw that. That's where I recognized her from the most.
which were also written by Shane Black.
Huh.
Ryan Lambert, who plays Rudy, is an ordained Lutheran minister and officiated actor Frank Stallone's wedding.
Oh,
Yeah. And the last thing I got is this movie cost $12 million and it only made 3.7 in the box office.
ouch.
Yeah, little surprising. Grades, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think they are?
5.3.
6.9.
What? No freaking way.
Hmm. I told you it
No.
has a cult fan base.
No. That's no. Rotten Tomato critic 52.
56, you're close.
Okay. Audience 81.
78.
Oh.
Yeah. And then our grades, I'll let you go first.
Um, so a little interesting that it has a cult following. Not I mean, I could kind of get it with, a bunch of kids growing up at the time, having a good time with it and
Hmm.
enjoying it. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there are kids movies that I thoroughly enjoy and really get into. Goonies by far way better movie.
Yeah.
Um
It was a Spielberg movie, though. Come on.
yeah, well, yeah, but it was kind of clunky. We talked about how it could have been longer. The story was a little mashed up. They it went quite fast.
Mm,
And there were several times I felt like they were doing stuff where it's just like, oh, now we're just making it convenient that they're figuring all this stuff out.
yeah.
Um, and it,
Everything just kind of like happens in this movie, too. And there's not really any explanation for a lot of it.
yeah, actually, that brings up something very interesting, and I'm probably going to butcher this. But did you ever see the lecture by the South Park guys about how to do storytelling?
No.
I'm probably going to butcher it, but basically they talk about how you shouldn't say this happens, then this happens. This happens, then this happens. It's always supposed to be this happens, therefore this happens, but this happens, which causes this to happen. So it's
Hmm.
very intentional. It's very much like one thing triggers another thing.
Yeah.
And I
It's all
feel
a
this
chain reaction, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this movie completely skipped that. It was just like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this, and it's all just gonna solve itself, but there's no real um uh fleshed out process for the movie. It was just boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Um and so it just fell prey to that whole system and everything. So, um, not a bad movie, not a great movie in my opinion and everything. Fun movie, totally worth a watch, especially like for people who are into, the Halloween movies and things for that time of the year and everything. So, worth a watch. Ooh, I think I'm gonna land at a three, three.
Okay.
Nah, yeah, three. I'll give it a three. I was
Rock.
going between 3 and 3.5.
Rock. I enjoy this movie quite a bit. I like the Goonies a lot. So, I mean, this one's pretty Goonies adjacent, I guess. Like you said, not as good, but I mean, kids' movies being able to live up to the Goonies is kind of a tall ask.
Oh yeah.
Um, I like the chemistry between the kids. I mean, I like all these old monsters and stuff, and I like, all the monster talk they have and everything. Yeah, it is a little rushed. I noticed that definitely this time. And I really want to see what those like cut 13 minutes are, if those still exist. Like what
Hmm.
else is there like to like pad the runtime and maybe build some more story and stuff. But I don't know, it's got some stuff going for it. It's got some funny things. Uh I like the one kid's shirt that says Stephen King's rules on it.
Yeah.
Sean has that shirt at the beginning of the movie that says that. Um and then the whole Wolfman's got nards is pretty funny. And I like the Rudy character just because of like how effortlessly cool he is. And like all the other kids just like are mesmerized by him basically. Because I feel like every kid growing up has like the older kid that kind of hangs around every once in a while that you'd think is just so cool. But kind of cracks me up. I don't know, it's just a fun movie. I usually watch it like every fall. And it's just, I don't know, it's a good one to have in the background where you don't have to pay super close attention. But I end up giving it a 4 out of 5 because I do really enjoy it. But yeah, it needed some more runtime, a little more explanation of things I think would have helped. Like you don't have to explain everything, but everything just kind of like happens and it all fits together perfectly. Like all these monsters land in the same area and
Yeah.
all come together easily. Yeah. In the same town where there's a group of kids obsessed with monsters.
Yep.
It's yeah, everything just kind of happens.
And they happen to have Van Helsing's book, and yeah.
Yeah, right. And a German guy that can read it.
Yep.
Yeah, all of it just kind of like fits perfectly. Everything lines up. The stars align. But next time we're gonna be wrapping up our marathon. Um, we're gonna do a movie, and we're also gonna do like a slight wrap up. Because every single time we always rank the movies. Like which ones we thought were the best, which were the worst. But I don't think we really had any like bad movies this time. So, um, we're gonna be talking about another like big cult classic. It's one that's maybe a little bit more comedic than this, and definitely geared more towards like teenagers and young adults. We're gonna be talking about the classic Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which just had a video game come out not too long ago,
Yeah.
surprisingly. But yeah, if you guys like that movie, come by, check that out. You can follow us on social media. We're pretty much on every single platform. Um, Go ahead and subscribe and share the show. Check out our YouTube. I've been putting up a whole bunch of stuff there. So there's lots of other horror stuff. So if you're interested in that, I think probably by the time these come out, every single other marathon will be up there for you guys. So go ahead, check those out. Come by next time. We're going to talk about killer clowns from outer space and wrapping up the marathon as a whole. And until then, as always, be kind and rewind.